Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. This is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the LA Galaxy, Angels City FC, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome. I'm J.R. Liebert, your friendly neighborhood scarf, and I am joined today by two of my best friends in the soccer biz, my man Tim Kolach, my man Christian Philly Philemon. Boys, welcome to another great episode of Soccer in 60.
Thanks, Scarf. How are you, buddy, man? Things are good out here in SoCal. It's super hot, and I was going to mention in my intro that we were going to have a Philly sighting later on today with our interview with Izzy, but now he's here in the flesh too. Welcome back, Philly.
Thank you, boys. With Labor Day out of the way, it's time to get busy. Happy to be in here with you crazy cats. It is Thirsty Thursday after all, and we got happy hour in full effect. Bottoms up, bottles up, pinky too, if you feel so inclined.
Listen, we got a ton to talk about. A fantastic interview with SoCal soccer legend Israel Sesay. Of course, finally, Heung-min Son debuting for LAFC. Galaxy potentially saving their season. So much to talk about. But before, let's talk about our friends over at Omnitrans. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers game. Look, we have long awaited in the Southland the debut at home of Son Heung-min. What an atmosphere it was at BMO Stadium. Dolores Huerta there as the honorary Falconer, the 3252 in the North End, as loud and raring to go as they have been in years. It was a fantastic debut for Son Min-hyung, if you count everything but the result, against the current division leaders, San Diego FC. Philly, we talked about this a bunch. So many opportunities in this one, but just time after time, LAFC failing to make that final quality pass or shot that led to a second goal.
It's a story all season long. And lately, a story that hasn't been the case is normally when LAFC scores first, they win games. But as of late, that's not been the case. They scored a heck of a goal to start things off. Denny Bwanga, the second player ever in LAFC history to hit the 90 mark in terms of goals in all appearances, would get his night stunned. You and I got to see San Diego FC for the first time. And look, they are the real deal, despite what all the experts and all the pundits have said. Vast majority said they would finish on the bottom in the cellar of the Western Conference. But between what we saw with Chucky Lozano and obviously Anders Dreyer, who's making a case for MVP, SDFC, I begrudgingly say, is the real deal.
Yeah, look, for an expansion club, heck, for any club in Major League Soccer right now, they are roaring through the Western Conference. They've played well against the East as well. Tim, it was the much anticipated debut of Son Heung-min, and the atmosphere electric. And it's not just the Korean fan base that has energized BMO Stadium with his presence. It is everybody there. And look, Tim, a really good debut. I mean, two fantastic saves by CJ Dos Santos, the keeper there for San Diego, a ball that pinged off the post, but he's looked very, very good, and now finally the home fans get a chance to see Sonny.
Yeah, this is now his third match, right? He's playing well. Fourth match, and he pings one off the pine trees, right, and gets that post. I mean, a little bit more to one side, and it's in the back of the net. But to have that type of atmosphere at BMO, and you guys were there. You guys were in the crowd screaming and yelling. You got to go down and see the team afterwards in the press conference. But to see that type of atmosphere, you could feel it even on TV. You could feel it coming through, kind of like one of those first games back after COVID. You can feel the energy. You get a little bit of the goosebumps coming through the TV even. And like you said, he makes a hell of a home debut. And it's just fantastic to see him playing that well in front of the crowd with as much pressure as he's on, especially with all the media from South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, it was standing room only in the press box. It was standing room only in the press conference after the match. Philly, having a player like Sonny come over, the first Asian superstar to come over to Major League Soccer. I mean, we've seen it on Christmas Tree Lane. The atmosphere is different at 10 in the morning, let alone at 7:45 for kickoff. You've been following LAFC since day one. How is this Son Heung-min finally playing at BMO Stadium? How does this feel different than what we've seen over the past several seasons?
I mean, no disrespect to Kim Moon-hwan, who was, another Korean superstar that LAFC had on their roster for a very short period of time. Call it a shot of espresso, if you will. But the excitement, the buzz that was around the stadium, the amount of Korean flags that we saw all scattered around BMO Stadium, the Korean correspondents, the news outlets, this was a big deal. And we talked about the vibes in the building early on. It felt like it was the playoffs. The last time we felt the regular season game of this magnitude with this much electricity and buzz, Messi and Inter Miami rolled into town. But Son, obviously the real deal. And for his sake, he must be pretty thrilled to finally be in an environment that is ruckus, because the first couple of games in an MLS with LAFC, not exactly the craziest of crowds that he's used to, considering all the time he spent in North London. You're talking about Chicago Fire, FC Dallas, to name a couple. But BMO was rocking. 22,000 and change. It was awesome. He had a couple of really good shots. Unfortunately, our nemesis Wally Post took care of his attempts, but he adds such a flair to the attack of LAFC. They look like a different team with a bit more adrenaline and some rejuvenation from their attackers.
And look, Sonny, the best XG plus XA of his career as of right now. Granted, a very small sample size, but he is performing at a very high level in MLS. Unfortunately, though, Tim, what it looks like happened is that LAFC could absolutely kiss any dreams of the Western Conference goodbye. I want to get your thoughts. LAFC now 15 points back of San Diego there in the West, even though they've got a couple matches in hand. I don't think there's any chance at all that they can salvage the West. Do you, Tim?
No, not with the way San Diego is playing. And you've got, Chris, Philly mentioned it a minute ago, Chucky Lozano, you got Anders playing so well. Yeah. And he's been playing great the entire season. They came out like a shot, shocked the world with LA Galaxy in that very first game, wiped them off the map. And they've not stopped. And so for anybody to make a run at them in the West it's just not going to happen. I like the way LAFC is playing, especially with Sonny coming in. And Philly said it again, the adrenaline, the energized bunny that they now are. They're going to make a run at them.
Yeah.
But I don't see them coming. I see top 2, top 3, but I don't see them making a run at San Diego.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. No matches until Saturday, September 13th. So, Philly, I want to ask you something that you touched on earlier. A potentially troubling trend for LAFC is exactly what you mentioned, where under Steve Cherundolo, however successful you feel that he might have been, when LAFC scores first, 90% of the time they win the match. And very few times do they come back to even lose the match, for sure. Look, we've seen it now in the last 2 matches. Against Dallas on the road, they took the lead, gave up the lead, only took home a point. Against San Diego at home, it was a loss at home after taking an early lead. Is there anything to read into this recent swoon for LAFC?
I will say going in, they were 14-1-6 when scoring first in the Steve Cherundolo era, 2-10-5 in all competitions when conceding the first goal. Do I read anything into this? Not necessarily, because look, San Diego might be a team that not only wins the West, but clinches the Supporters Shield. We went toe-to-toe with a team that could make a run at MLS Cup. And you know what? We've seen this time and time again with the Austins and the St. Louis cities. For me, as long as LAFC finishes in the top four, gets home field advantage, I'd like our chances. In particular, if we get a rematch against San Diego FC, third time will not be a charm.
I love it. Look, let's head 13 miles down the road to Los Angeles Galaxy. We're going to be joined by co-host of La Cuna Galaxiana podcast, Rob Halone. Rob, welcome back to Soccer in 60, my friend.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
I mean, the real question is, Rob, what is the mood like? We talked to Will Kuntz last week here on Soccer in 60. I know it was only quote unquote the third place game, Rob, but a spot in CONCACAF Champions Cup has now been secured by the Galaxy. What does this do for the rest of the season?
You know, Scarf, honestly, for the rest of the season, not too much, but it sets them up for good next year, right? In which they'll have Ricky Puig back. But, you know, if we're going to pick one thing out that it does for them this season, it's, you know, gives them a little bit of pride and a little bit of a boost heading into this last stretch, right? I mean, they've had a terrible year, but of course you don't want to end terrible, right? You want to go out on a high note, and maybe this is – and knock on wood, because I've said this so many times this season, maybe this is the thing that jolts them into a good form, right? And into at least a consistent, 3 or 4 game stretch where they get wins. But you never know with this Galaxy team.
Well, look, they did their job in qualifying for CONCACAF Champions Cup. Granted, it wasn't in the League's Cup final as they would have hoped, but a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot is still a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. Let me ask you, Rob, real quick, too, about Marco Reus. 28 matches overall, 8 goals, 9 assists. He has 7 goal contributions in his last 10 MLS matches, 3 goals and an assist in League's Cup. What do you take away from this performance across the entire season and really putting the team on his back over these last 15 matches or so?
Yeah, you said it. I mean, where would they be without Marco Reus? It took Joseph Painso and Gabriel Peck ages to get going. Arguably, they're still not up to their 2024 level, and he really put the team on his back and carried them. He got slagged off really, really hard at the beginning of the year for not being available and being injured. I mean, of course, you got to remember that he's 36. So, you know, just by the fact that he's been available and willing to be out there and traveling and going with 3 days rest says volumes about his commitment and really his leadership for this locker room. Without him, it would be even sadder times in Galaxylandia.
No, that's for sure. Philly, one of the things that we've looked at quite a bit over the course of the season is the wooden spoon run, or maybe now lack thereof, of the Galaxy. Now just 2 points back of St. Louis, and they seem like they're in a free fall. 5 points back of plenty of other teams. Rob kind of talked about maybe this is that moment that springboards them into some successful results over the next couple of matches. Your thoughts on Galaxy potentially being able to avoid the wooden spoon now that they've got some momentum?
I mean, do you, with the momentum they're riding, of course, nobody wants to finish in dead last. Going from where they were champions, drinking all that champagne and eating that caviar, to going back to, I don't know, the grocery store and drinking some Old English and eating some sweet tarts. I mean, it's a completely different kind of a team. But the run that they had going towards the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it was great for them. We had Diego Fagundes on the show a couple of weeks ago, and despite how poorly they were playing, they knew that the season wasn't coming to a close because they still had the opportunity. And with a healthy squad next year, mark my words, I think this is going to be a highly competitive team next season. It might be an anomaly for them thus far, but they have to be careful because there's a term in German, our producer, Gunnar, would appreciate this, Knie aus Papier. That's Marco Reus in a nutshell. At 36, he was getting injuries like this at 26. The load, the shoulder, the weight of the Galaxy starting to crumble in on him. I hope we get to see a healthy Marco Reus down the road, but obviously all excitement is towards Ricky Puig. And I got to say that Joseph Paintsill played very well under pressure. Joseph Paintsill, a hero in that game. But, of course, Marco Reus leading the team in so many statistical categories. Die Deutsche, been following him in the Bundesliga for such a long time. I hope the knee injury that he has isn't serious.
And Philly, would you mind translating your German phrase there that you gave to the world?
Fair enough. I should have, but I mean, deductive reasoning would probably lead you to the conclusion that papier means paper. Knie probably means knee. So knee made out of paper to the smart ones who knew, and for the other ones that didn't know, now you know, and knowing is half the battle, as the old G.I. Joe commercials used to say back in the day.
Absolutely.
I love it. Rob, let me ask you a question moving forward. Look, they've got a road match against Houston Dynamo, a match that unfortunately was scheduled right in the middle of what is a bit of an international break for most clubs, right? This one postponed from earlier in the season. No Joseph Paintsill, it looks like, as he's with Ghana for an international call-up. No Harbor Miller, who has been a real quality depth piece for Galaxy as he's with the USA under-19s. You said that, look, there really isn't going to have too big of an effect on this season. So let me ask you, is it going to be a more motivated LA Galaxy for this stretch of regular season MLS matches, starting with Houston?
I think so. And the reason being is that a lot of these players are now playing for contracts or playing for jobs, right? I mean, the Galaxy depth players, I mean, you mentioned Harbor Miller. I mean, he's a young player who's hoping to break into that first team. So he wants to go ahead and show well for Greg Vanney. So Greg Vanney considers him for next year. I mean, you do have Mickey Yamane, you do have Mauricio Cuevas, but he wants to put himself in Greg Vanney's thoughts. Greg Vanney has said that he can play at that level. There's other players like Elijah Winder, like Lucas Sanabria, who need to use this stretch of games, 7, I believe, and then 8 with the Campeones Cup against Toluca, but they need to show Greg Vanney why they're on this team and why they deserve to be on this team going forward. I mean, these are young players. They need to get acclimated. They need to show that they can hack it in this league.
You know, let me ask you the other side of the coin. You know what you're going to get time in and time out with a Mickey Yamane, a Maya Yoshida, a Diego Fagundes, maybe some of these much more veteran players that you see year in and year out. But is it time, do you say, over these last 7 matches, maybe not in Campeones Cup, obviously, because that's a chance to add a trophy in the case, but maybe over these last 7 MLS regular season matches, do you play the young kids? Do you play the guys who have been kind of on the cusp of making an impact for them over the course of the season? Or would you say you try to roll it out with the best lineup you have, avoid the wooden spoon, and get as many points as you can?
No, you absolutely play the kids, but you do it with a fine mixture of that experience. I mean, in that 3-0 recently where Harbor Miller scored that first goal, Elijah Winder scored as well. There was a nice – everybody talked up the young lads, deservedly so, for scoring. Chris Randolph for making his debut as well. But there was a nice mix of experience in that lineup as well. So I think it was 5 young lads and 6 experienced players that have been in and out of that lineup. Mickey Yamane, John Nelson, Zonka, so there's got to be a mix, but you absolutely need to start throwing Mo Cuevas out there. You absolutely need to start putting Isaiah Parente out there. If Isaiah Parente is going to be one of your midfielders of the future, let him show it.
Yeah, Tim, let me ask you real quick about the potential Ricky Pooch effect, and I want to know your take on Joseph Paintsill. Joseph Paintsill has been a fantastic player over the last 2 seasons, but last season with Ricky Pooch and all of his running mates, 15 goals, 8 assists in 38 matches. In just 28 matches this season, 10 goals, 2 assists. How much of that is the Ricky Pooch effect, and how much of that is maybe Paintsill slowing down just a little bit?
I think it's a lot of Pooch, and I think it's a little bit of Paintsill. I think it's probably 80% Pooch that he's doing it, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, Pooch is what stirs the drink, right? You put in all your ingredients, you put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and this is where we're at. But when you do that and you take out the main ingredient of that entire midfield, and Rob mentioned it a minute ago, 36 years old, he's got a paper knee, but he's playing unbelievable. But Pooch went out and put that team on his torn up knee the last 20 minutes of that semifinal game last year. Yeah. And so when you have a guy like that, everybody's going to rally around him. And I think Paintsill has slowed down a little bit, maybe 10%. He's He's got that quad that he was dealing with early, right? Kind of slowed him down for the rest of the season. But when you put Pooch back in the system next year, I think Paintsville once again is in that 12-7 range.
Well, look, what we got to have on this episode of Soccer in 60 is a much more jovial Rob Jalón from Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. It was great having you back on, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back hopefully on our next episode of Soccer in 60, my friend.
Absolutely, guys. It was a pleasure being here with you. And Ricky fans, take heart. He took his first team training today after injury. So he's back very soon. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you very soon. Catch Soccer in 60 next time.
Thank you so much, Rob. And Galaxy supporters, don't go anywhere because we have a fantastic interview with Izzy Sesay after our Angel City segment. You're talking about a guy who made history with the club while he was there for a very short time in 2009 and 2010. So stick around for the Izzy Sesay interview. Listen, what might be the biggest news of all in soccer in the Southland, it's still kind of breaking as we speak, as we're recording this, but it seems like the deal is all but done, and it's a bit of a head scratcher. Alyssa Thompson, the absolute heart, soul, and face of Angel City FC for the last couple of seasons, with the Ali Riley injury, with the Kristen Press stuff, with the Sydney LaRue stuff, it has been Alyssa Thompson who has been driving that bus for Angel City FC. And she sat out their last match, the 2-1 victory over Bay FC, with an excused absence. And all signs point to what as of this recording is an impending, potentially record-breaking, and I know for the ACFC faithful, it better be record-breaking if she's going to go, transfer to English powerhouse Chelsea. The window closes Thursday, so it remains to be seen if the deal will get done, but all signs point to Alyssa Thompson to Chelsea. Philly, let me ask you a big question here. The previous high for an Angel City transfer, for an NWSL transfer, is $1.5 million for Lisbeth Ovalle from Tigres to Orlando Pride. What does the number have to be to satisfy the absolute hailstorm of hate that the Angel City supporters are going to give this move?
Realistically or hypothetically, because I don't know if 100 million would satisfy the ravenous fans that are at BMO Stadium. But realistically, it has to be above 1.5, because otherwise, to quote Taylor Twellman, what are you doing? The upside on this girl is incredible. I mean, 6 goals and 1 assist on the season, but the ceiling is just, there is no ceiling for her at this point. What she's been doing ever since she stepped on a pitch as a child, and she still is a child, has been nothing short of incredible. But I wouldn't blame her for taking the ride over to England, because first and foremost, she's a California girl. She went to Harvard Westlake. She plays at Angel City. Why would she not want to play for one of the top clubs in both England and Europe? A better question to ask, Scarf, is I wonder what kind of finder's fee old Emma Hayes is going to get. Yes, I know she's not the manager at Chelsea, but she is managing the United States national team, right? I'm sure there's got to be some backdoor deals going on. This smells like Hayes all over the place.
Double agent Emma Hayes. You heard it here first for one Christian Philly Philemon. Look, Tim, you can't talk about it enough, right? She doesn't turn 21 until November, and yet the local girl from Harvard Westlake has already capped 22 times for the U.S. women's national team. If she ever plays again in an Angel City shirt, it would be cap number 70, 15 goals, but it's not even that, right? You take a walk around BMO Stadium and you just look at what everybody is wearing on their backs and their headbands, the signs they're holding. How
Venom McCaskill.
Yeah. Philly, the former conductor of the McCaskill Express, by the way, huge fan.
Not anymore, not since she went to San Diego.
But Tim, how do you even begin to go about replacing the mercurial talent that is Alyssa Thompson?
This is a tough one, Scarf. And Philly, I was going to say 80 million, so you beat me to the punch there, buddy. I think the reality is you've got to have one heck of a PR department spinning this the right way. Talking about how this is the better for the betterment of the club and for the betterment of her, that it's a win-win situation, because otherwise the reign of hate will be very, very large against Angel City. And, hopefully the senior leadership, that the coach has got a plan in place for this, what appears to be the impending exodus of Alyssa Thompson.
Yeah, Philly, I have to ask you, you're rather experienced with Germans. You spent your high school years in Germany. We have Alex Strauss, who's just come over after coaching Bayern for quite some time. If you're Alex Strauss, granted, they proved that they could beat Bay FC, by the way, 2-1 last match for the very first time. They hadn't beaten Bay before, and that's without Alyssa Thompson. But if you're Alex Strauss, you've dealt with coming over in the middle of the season. You've dealt with having a break for like a month and a half in the middle, and you had all of your players who were hurt trying to get back. Now you finally get everybody on the same page, and you get your absolute legs taken out from under you if this Alyssa Thompson move is made. What's going through Alex Strauss's head right now?
For knowing Germans as I know, it's just another day in the office, and I wish this was a somewhat more loosey-goosey with the verbiage we use, because there's so many fun swear words I could teach you all in German. But at the end of the day, look, he started to right the ship, obviously, losing a winless streak, a 6 sucks, back-to-back wins. But look, it's the leading scorer of the team has been Riley Tiernan. So at this point, he's probably had it in the back of his mind for a little while, the excused absence. They played very well in their last game. So at this point, I think he's already looking at the world without Alyssa Thompson. At the very least, there still is another girl on the team donning the last name Thompson. And oh, by the way, she also leads the team in assists. So that's something to ponder. But for me, the breakout player on this team is not Alyssa Thompson. I mean, you can't say she isn't really a breakout player, but Riley Tiernan has led this team in scoring. Riley Tiernan is the engine that controls the offense. If Alyssa Thompson goes, again, it had better be for a great deal of money. But for Alexander Strauss, it's business as usual. And then, you talk about it with a lot of hatred in an angry tone, sipping a beer down the road at the end of the game.
And look, we know that Alex Strauss is Norwegian, but he's got a lot of experience coaching Bayern Munich. Maybe it helps him from his time over at Bayern Munich, having to lose a superstar or two, coaching a giant club there. Tim, Philly mentioned Riley Tiernan. Riley opened the scoring for Angel City in the 12th minute with her 8th of the season, 4th now in the Golden Boot race in NWSL. Second most goals ever by a rookie, just 3 goals behind the NWSL record for a rookie. Clearly, Alex Strauss has a ton of confidence in the striker. What does it mean now that maybe more of the offensive load is going to be put on the rookie Riley Tiernan?
Well, I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie like that with Riley, even though that she is playing really, really well. I think you do have to have at least a couple other people in place that, to take the place of a Thompson. And if you can do that, I mean, you're not going to be able to at this late stage of the season. But I think what you need to do is have a couple of other players step up and fill the void that is going to be left if indeed Alyssa leaves the club.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, the shutout streak finally coming to an end at 217 minutes for Hannah Siebert, but the club undefeated in her 3 starts, 2 wins, 1 draw. Mayara with a late game winner in the 77th minute, a massive win for Angel City, their first ever over Bay FC, something that needs to be talked about. They don't play again until Sunday, September 7th at Gotham. So they're going to head across the country to New Jersey to take on Rose Lavelle and company. And I just want to remind everybody, just 12 points separate 2nd and 11th in the standings.
Really quick, I just want to point out the fact that the Soccer in 60 Effect Israel, Riley Tiernan was on the show a couple of months ago. Hannah Sieber was on the show a couple of months ago. The success should not be a surprise. Check out that interview with Riley Tiernan.
That's right. Check out our older episodes. But first, check out our friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they do believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, let's head on over to nationalcore.org if you can. We have a fantastic interview with Israel Sesay on deck. We talk Galaxy, we talk Empire Strykers, we talk about his time with the LA Blues down in Orange County, the soccer legend, OC Blues down in Orange County, the SoCal soccer legend, Israel Sesay. His interview up right now.
Our guest today is one of the most beloved figures in the Inland Empire and Greater LA soccer. He's a legend and former team captain with the Empire Strykers, having made 217 appearances over the course of 12 seasons before announcing his retirement from pro indoor soccer this past March. Today, we want to check in with him just to see what his new life is like. But we also want to talk to him about being a core part of the history of two other teams that we cover on the show, the LA Galaxy and Orange County Soccer Club. It's such a pleasure to have with us our good friend returning, our good friend, Mr. Israel Sesay. Izzy, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Man, thank you for having me. Like always, Philly, it's always good to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Always good to see you, my man. Always smiling ear to ear. That's what I love about you. The enthusiasm and the charisma pours through the interwebs. Now, you said in your official retirement announcement that after retiring, you were looking forward to diving even deeper into coaching and to be more present as a husband and a father. That leads me right into my first question. What have you been up to since you called it quits, and have you been able to make good on some of those promises to the family?
Yeah, it's been a long summer, I would say, but it's been good. I've been obviously coaching the kids. Like I said, it's been a very, very busy summer. I've been traveling nonstop. I was in Colorado, twice, traveling back and forth from San Diego tournament. I've been in Montana this summer. So it's been really, really good. It's been really very, very interesting. But I mean, this is what I love to do. Just like I said, when I step away from the game, I want to give back to the kids. Teach them the beautiful game of soccer. And that's what I'm doing now. And, also find time to spend some time with my family. So it's been really good. And, I really appreciate it.
As the saying goes, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. And by your career and all the joy you've had, sounds like you've never really worked a day in your life because you've always loved what you're doing. Now, Izzy, our creative director, Gunnar, who is also the Strykers head of communications, asked you after your final game if it had sunk in that this was it, that you wouldn't be coming in the preseason camp this year to get ready for another MASL campaign. You said then that it hadn't, and it would probably take you a while. It's time to check in with you there. When you think about the fact that, October's, on the horizon, you're not going to have that frantic of a schedule. You're not going to constantly be traveling, competing. Like, how does that make you feel? Like, would you say you've totally made peace with it or not yet?
No, I make peace with it. I make sure I enjoy the game. I make sure I play the game until I really, really be like, this is it. I don't want to do it anymore. So I play it. I enjoy it. And when I make that final decision, I was in peace with it, and I'm still in peace with it. I run across the boys, every week. I give them my pep talk. These are the guys who are still playing. But for me to, have that urge again to prepare during the off season, get back on the field now, I'm good with that. I'm in peace. I'm in peace.
All right, fair enough. Look, I mentioned your final game at Toyota Arena in Ontario. For those who don't know, you had previously announced your retirement. You were honored on the field in front of a crowd of nearly 7,400 fans, and you had to exit the match with an injury to then see the team rally back to take the lead against your rivals after trailing by 5 goals, only to lose 9-8 in overtime. Now, right after that final whistle, you called it an emotional day and a celebration. Now that a few months has passed, How do you reflect on that game in particular? And where does it rank in terms of memorable moments for you, your life, and your career?
Man, it got to be on top of that, right? It's got to be one of the most memorable time of my life, But I told one of a very good friend of mine right after the game, Robert Palmer. I'm like, don't ever play your last game and call it the retirement game anymore, because there was so much emotion for me personally. There was so much going on, and I still have to play against one of our biggest rival and a game that we need to win. And in the back of my mind, I know that, man, this is the last game. Most likely everybody here, they are here for me, and it was just too much. It was too much. Then I told him, I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just call it after the season. Just call it off. But if you have to play and call that your last game, I would not advise anybody to do that again. I probably would not do it again, because it was too much emotion for me. I think after I got injured and went out, I was like, now I can breathe. Because every time I step on the field, I got to do my shift. There was so much going on. I would not do it again the way I did. I did it the right way, but to play a game and call it the last game, I probably would not advise anybody to do that again. It was too much. But it was an emotional day, obviously, for me and my family, and for the fans, and for the Inland Empire and everything that I've given to this community. It was really, really emotional for me. And, I enjoy it. The club make it really, really special for me, which was really good. I think those young players that was on that field, that was part of it, even the ones who did not play that game, that can make them look back and say, you know what, I want to be here longer, because if I do the right things, if I do the right things and I stay with a club for this long, this is what can happen. They can honor you and make sure that they do it the right way. So for me, that's the biggest thing I can take away from that, and make sure that those young guys, those players that was on that field can see that, and hopefully they can stay longer with this club and trying to make something out of it themselves, just like the way I did. So it was good. Emotional, but good.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, since we're talking about the upcoming season, and since you've said that you've always wanted to stay involved with the club, is there anything that you can share in terms of what that might look like? Will you be rooting from the stands or sitting up in a suite? Is there a chance you might have a more formal role with the club, or is it too early in the game to comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's too early. I haven't, to be honest with you guys, I haven't had any, conversation like that and see if I'm going to be part of it or not. But obviously, if the clubs see me as somebody that can help, I'm always here. I live in the community. But if not, I have a good life with what I'm doing with my club. I'm just going to continue to make an impact with those kids and keep, teaching these kids the beautiful game. But, I know what I bring to this community and to this club. It would be right to have somebody like me involved. But again, it's up to the club. If they see me as somebody that they can use to help them, I'm here. But if not, my life still goes on.
Right. Well, we'll definitely see you there for the Ring of Honor ceremony. So,
Yeah. Right.
Hey, your very first pro club was the LA Galaxy. And in fact, you were the youngest player ever to appear in a match for the club at the age of 17 years and just 168 days. All of that thanks to a successful asylum claim after escaping the violence in Sierra Leone, the country of your birth, where the Civil War had raged on. You had said your very first game at the Galaxy was one of your proudest moments. Talk to us about how all that came to be and what it meant for you after everything your family had been through.
Ah, man, crazy. Good question, but crazy. I mean, for me, obviously, you guys know my background. I came from, a place where, there was, a civil war, Sierra Leone. It was really tough for me growing up. I came here just to have a better life, and, I started playing youth soccer. And from that, I just joined, on top of the ranks, playing club, playing regional, playing for youth national team. And I have the chance to sign with one of the biggest clubs in the US. Feeling I have another, answer for that. But again, we have to be honest over here, right? So I have a chance to play for one of the biggest clubs in the MLS, and it was the proudest moment for me. If I can look back at it, the way how it all happens, it was just a blessing. It was just a blessing. Yeah, obviously you have the gift, you have the talent, but also you have to have luck, and it got to be a blessing. And for me to make my debut at 17, national TV, ESPN against, Chivas USA, man, it was something that I never thought it was gonna happen, but it's a blessing. It was a blessing. It was emotional. I still have the clip going into that game for Kyle. It was the proudest moment for me, my family, everybody that have been helping me throughout my soccer journey. So, man, every time I talked about it, I get goosebumps, to be honest. It was a sold-out game, and for me to get in there and be involved it's a blessing, and I thank God for it every day.
Izzy, you're giving me goosebumps, man. I can see Philly kind of getting all emotional too, man. That's so awesome that after so many years, it still gives you that emotional effect, man. I love it. Hey, you were with the Galaxy during one of the most whirlwind times in MLS history, following the arrival of David Beckham. Right. During that time, you not only took the field with David, but also other massive stars such as Kobe Jones, Robbie Keane, Landon Donovan. That sounds like a lot to take in for a kid who immigrated from West Africa after so many of his friends weren't able to make it to the States as well. What was that period like for you? Did the media circus feel overwhelming, or did you just feel like the luckiest guy in the world?
Both. Both. The media was crazy. The lucky guy, yes. But man, it was crazy. It was crazy. Obviously, I signed the same year as David, but David signed before me because I went through the MLS with a lottery, so I never went through the draft. So David signed. I think I signed probably like a few months after. So I remember when David was here, it was all over TV. I was back in Maryland looking at the coverage, like, oh my God, Beckham is in the States. Oh, Beckham is playing in the MLS. So when I got the call from Alexi Lalas and basically say, hey, you're coming to LA, I literally dropped the phone. I was shocked, like, oh my God. The first thing I said was, am I going to be playing with David Beckham? I told Alexis on the phone. Alexis was like, yes, kid, you are. Then Alexis was like, where are you at? I was like, I'm in Maryland right now. And he was like, are you healthy physically? I was like, yeah, I'm good. And he was like, okay, I'm going to book you a flight. You're going to be in LA next day. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was literally sitting at home. I mean, I knew what was going on, that I'm in the way the lottery and it was going to happen, but I never knew where I was going to end up. So when I got that call, it was crazy. It was, man, I can remember that day and my life feeling, man, my life team it's just been crazy. Israel Sesay have the most craziest story in the world and the most amazing one. So for me to get involved with that, get into that locker room, playing with players like David Beckham, Landon, Kobe Jones, that was his last year. Man, it was just amazing. It was shock for me. Even my first training session, I was literally starstruck. you know, I was literally starstruck. I remember after the training session, we did a crossing and finishing drill, and we came in. The first thing somebody asked, I think it was the coach. It was Frank Yallop. He asked Landon, "What do you think about the kid?" He was like, "He just needs to loosen up, man." That's what Landon said. He's like, he's too nervous. Because I was nervous, you know, being on that field, playing with those people that you look up to. You know, Kobe Jones. I remember looking at TV, looking at Kobe with his dread, and now I'm right there playing with him. You know, like, I need to write a movie one day. But yeah, it's amazing. It's something that I can be here and talk about this all day, like stories after stories. But it's amazing. It's lucky. It's blessing. You know, like I said, I thank God for my life every day. You have to.
Well, you're in the perfect town to write a story about it. I mean, right down the road from Tinseltown. I mean, who wouldn't want to hear a story about going basically from the prom to the pitch with the likes of the athletes that you competed with? Look, Izzy, we want to take this chance to educate some of our listeners and maybe even some fans of Orange County Soccer Club on the history of the club. Many probably don't know that before a major ownership change, OCSC started out its pro journey in 2011 as the LA Blues at Cal State Fullerton's Titan Stadium. And part of that team's very first roster was the then 22-year-old Israel Sesay. For those who only know the club's beautiful stadium down in Irvine and the well-run USL Championship, can you give us some insight into what it was like to play in what was then called USL Pro?
Yes, man, what a you know, amazing club too, you know, back then. So basically, after my last season with the Galaxy, you know, I love LA. I have everything in LA. I didn't want to move. We want to move out of LA, right? So, you know, I talked to my agent. There was opportunity for me to move to a different MLS team. I have option to go to New York, Philly, but I was really, really trying to stay in LA. I loved LA, and I find out that they have a new USL team that was coming in, and they already signed somebody that I played with back with the Galaxy. His name is Josh Tudela. Josh Tudela was the first signing. So I talked to Josh, then Josh was like, "Do you want to come here and play?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? You know, I would love to come out there and play. I don't want to live in LA. I love it here." And Josh connected me with the coach. You know, we had a good conversation, and they offered me a pretty good contract back then. You know, it was pretty good for me, so I just, you know, settled and signed with the LA Blues at that time. It was called LA Blues. We were me, Josh. There was a few other players. We were the first players to ever play with them. We helped build the club. We had a very, very good team. Obviously, it's LA. You know, LA is filled with talent. So for you, for you to have a team like that and bring the local players and some players with experience like me, the Josh Tudela, Walter Gaitan, man, it was an amazing experience for me to be involved with that team and help that team grow. And now looking back at them and see what they have built in Orange County, you know, I'm really, really proud to say that we were the original that started all that.
Always so many things to be proud of. Oh, such an incredible career. And more importantly, one of the happiest and, again, most charismatic players that we've ever had the honor and privilege of having on the show. Izzy, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to spend with us. Again, a repeat interviewee. Certainly appreciate you. Lots of luck with the coaching. We hope to see you at Toyota Arena as the Empire Strykers look to kick off their season in December. God bless, my man. All the best to you, and it's always great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm always here. Thank you, guys. And, yeah, go Empire.
Go Empire.
Go Empire.
And look, I'm a little bummed I wasn't part of the interview, but you guys did an absolute wonderful job interviewing a player that has history in so many different avenues and routes. And one of those things that he was talking about more than anything else, he ended talking about his time in Orange County. Tim, what a fireworks show down at the Champ in their last match. It's not every day you give up 4 and take home a point. It's not every day you score 4 and only get to take home a point. But that match against Birmingham, a 4-4 thriller down in Irvine. Your thoughts?
Scarf and Philly, this game had everything. It had lightning bolts. It had coming from behind. It had coming from behind again. Oh, and again. And one more time. It was incredible. Birmingham came in wanting to fight for that playoff spot, wanting to stay where, move up in the standings. Orange County is right there as well. And for the Orange County boys to go down in that game 3 different times and to fight back and to earn that 4-4 tie. Sometimes you kind of fall into a tie. This one was earned every stretch of the way. And to come down to that game, sold out show, over 5,500 people were in the stands, beer fest. The party atmosphere was on fire early. They opened the gates early. You get in, and to have that place be as raucous as it was from the opening whistle, and to have that game go back and forth the way it was absolutely epic. If you could feel the intensity at BMO with Sonny showing up, the intensity was there at the Champ this past weekend, Scarf.
And Philly, what does it say about a club, by the way, that can go down a goal 4 times, and then score on the way back to eke out a point, even if it is at home?
Gritty determination. I mean, that's what it's all about. They weren't getting down on their luck. They continue to fight back. Not the 1 time, not 2 times, not 3 times, but more. And that speaks volumes of the character of this team, how well they're coached, how they believe in themselves. You fight and battle until the final whistle, and they clearly showed that grit. Their playoff chances are still very much possible. So it's not as if it was they're just playing really well, and playing at home has been substantial for them. 6 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. But obviously, you got to get it done on the road in any kind of a league if you're going to look to make any kind of run towards postseason. But I like what they have been seeing. And yeah, this was an exciting game with a lot of the stuff that Tim talked about between lightning bolts and, well, the other stuff.
Yeah, Tim, I've got a question for you. Philly mentioned it, 6-2-2 at home, but 2-6-2 on the road as they head into a 3-game road trip. And it's a road trip: Detroit, Lexington, and San Antonio. How does Orange County keep up the momentum after the 4-goal thriller at home?
They just have to keep that fire burning. Like Philly said, it's determination. We had Nico Ben Alcazar on the show several weeks ago, and I sent him a text this just over the past day. And he said, hey, the boys are super positive. They're going to go into Detroit this weekend and play really strong against Detroit. Detroit's one of the better teams in the East, and they're still playing at a very small stadium that will get very big in a couple of years. But I think what's going to happen is they focus on it 1 game at a time. Danny Stone has these guys dialed in. They've played extraordinarily well over the past 5-6 matches. And for them to go in Detroit and then Lexington and then San Antonio, I see them coming out with at least a couple of victories on this 3-game roadie.
Yeah, they're absolutely going to have to. Just 5 points from second place, 5 points from last is Orange County SC. Let's get into our favorite segment here on Soccer in 60, and that is LA's Best 11. This may be the most contested segment that we have on each and every one of these episodes. Of course, this Best 11 covers all the matches from August 28th to September 3rd. And it starts with, even though the shutout streak was put to an end, Hannah Siebert in goal for her performance against Bay FC. On the back line, a couple more players from Angel City with Megan Reed and Sarah Gordon, and John Nelson, who hasn't made an appearance on here in quite some time, for the Galaxy in his performance against Orlando. In the midfield, Pedro Guimaraes from Orange County Soccer Club and his running mate, Chris Hagart, who has been on the show with us before. M.A. Vignola for Angel City in her performance against Bay, and Gabrielle Peck for the Galaxy against Orlando. And then at forward, the captain of this week's team is Joseph Painsel, recently called in to the Ghanaian national team for his performance against Orlando. Riley Tiernan, as Philly mentioned, for a goal against Angel City, or excuse me, for Angel City against Bay FC. And Marco Royce, who we talked about quite a bit, for his performance against Orlando. Philly, is there anybody on this list? And oh, by the way, that's 5 from Angel City, 4 for Galaxy, and 2 for Orange County. I know LAFC played this week. Is there anybody on this list that you could possibly think of that you might move over for a player in black and gold?
Look, I don't know why you say it's hotly contested, because it's tough. I mean, between the results that everybody has had, they all were a bit more positive than what happened to the boys in the black and gold. But that being said, there is a slight argument for a Denny Bwanga, because he became the second LAFC player to hit the 90 mark. He is 3 shy of Carlos Vela. He will surpass Carlos Vela. And at some point, yes, he will be on this list. But obviously that was done in a losing effort, sadly, as Anders Dreyer and San Diego FC certainly put a stop to LAFC at BMO. But that would be the only thing I would contest, Denny Bwanga being on here. But for who? Joseph Paintsel sealed the deal for the Galaxy. Riley Tiernan continued to pad her stats for Angel City, now 8 goals over the regular season. And Marco Royce has just been fantastic for the Galaxy. So it's a tough one for me. Maybe like an honorable mention would have been nice to see Denny Bwanga, because getting to 90 goals is a pretty big deal, if you ask me.
And look, I've got a couple questions for Gunnar as well, who puts this together. He's our producer extraordinaire. Not sure what Gabriel Peck is doing in the midfield and Marco Royce at forward. I might have flipped those guys a little bit. But Timmy K, let me ask you, you got a couple of your boys from Orange County Soccer Club, but surprised there's only 2 in the 4-4 effort?
You know what? I'm not. The team played well, but when you give up 4 goals and still put 2 guys in the midfield, I'm pretty stoked. However, the one thing that I would say is that Angel City had a player on there that I might have stuffed in there somewhere, Miyabi, who took that corner that was just a ripper. And that's the way a corner should be taken. It should be hard. It should be head level. And it produces the game-winning assist, right? So that's my only beef about this week's best 11 there, Scarf.
Listen, if Soccer in 60 ever goes behind a paywall, we have to release the private chat that we have, because Gunnar is defending everything that we talked about with him in our private chat. It's a lot of fun. Look, also what I think it says about Joseph Paintsel, right? Coming back from the injury, really playing well, really showing that top-end speed that he has. A lot of people talk about the fact that he might not have much of a touch, but he's been able to find it recently. And being the captain, wearing the captain's armband for this LA's best 11, pretty darn good. I just have to ask one more question about the best 11, and then we're going to be off. Hannah Siebert, is she ever not going to make the best 11? Philly, 2 shutouts and a 1-goal performance. How special is Angel City's new keeper?
I mean, considering where she came from, I mean, it's not as if they would have went after her if they didn't believe that she was going to be the number 1. She came in with that expectation, very humbly, though, saying on our show that she knew she still had to work for it. Look, playing in Portugal, she was incredible for Sporting, one of the biggest clubs, obviously, in the country of Portugal. But, I mean, it's her job. She's secured it. She's the starter going forward, and I see no reason why to tinker with that. Hugo Lloris may, in my opinion, have some competition in terms of being the best keeper in Southern California, in particular in LA, because Hannah Siebert is coming for him. Even though Hugo's got a World Cup, that's in the past. Hannah Siebert is the future.
Yeah, 5 saves in the match for her as well. Don't forget, please subscribe, like, rate, tell all your friends about the podcast. Again, it's the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. A huge thank you to Israel Sesay, Rob Halone from Lacuna Galaxiana podcast, and of course, my brothers on the show, Tim Kolach, Christian Philly Philemon. This has been another fantastic episode of Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems.